Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we are going to be cracking open Shy Creatures. It's a historical fiction novel by Clare Chambers set in 1964 Croydon.
Okay.
Now, just imagine, if you will, a man found hidden away in a house, seemingly forgotten by the world.
Wow.
This is William Tapping, our shy creature. He's found mute, unkempt,
Okay.
and a total mystery to everyone around him. And we've got a pile of Goodreads reviews to sift through. So consider this your sneak peek before you dive into this book yourself.
Love it.
All right. So what do we know about this hidden man, William Tapping?
Well, it's intriguing how Chambers uses his muteness right from the start.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you think about how we communicate and connect.
Yeah.
Especially when those traditional methods are taken away.
It definitely sets the stage for a story about hidden depths.
Yeah.
Both literally and figuratively.
Right.
And to help us uncover those depths, we have Helen Hansford.
Okay.
She's an art therapist who is drawn to William's case.
So it's worth noting that Helen isn't this perfect savior figure. You know, she's got her own baggage going on. An affair with a married doctor.
Oh, wait.
Strained family ties.
Interesting.
It makes you wonder if she sees something of herself in William. You know, a shared yearning for freedom.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a fascinating connection. It reminds me of a review by Laura Hill. She talks about Helen's internal struggle with her affair, how it almost seems to mirror William's confinement in a way. They're both trapped, just in different ways.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes Helen such a compelling character.
Mm.
You know, she's flawed.
Right.
She makes mistakes.
Right.
But her compassion for William, it just shines through.
Yeah, and speaking of unraveling the past, the novel kind of cleverly unfolds on this dual timeline.
Yeah.
So we experience the present-day story alongside Helen,
Okay.
and in 1964.
Right.
But we also get these glimpses into William's past,
Gotcha.
showing all the way back to 1938.
So cool how she does that. It's brilliantly executed. You're piecing together the puzzle of William's life alongside Helen. You know, it's like each flashback is another brushstroke revealing more of his story and the forces that shaped him.
I can see how that would keep you hooked. One reviewer, Elena, even compared it to peeling back the layers of an onion.
Yeah.
Slowly getting to the heart of the matter.
Love that. And Chambers doesn't just tell you about the past, she immerses you in it.
Right.
Several reviewers like Indie Flower were just blown away by her ability to evoke that atmosphere of 1960s London, particularly the world of the psychiatric hospital where William is treated.
Yeah, that historical context is so important, especially when you consider the evolving attitudes towards mental health during that era.
Absolutely.
What was going on?
So in the 1960s, there was a significant shift in how mental illness was viewed and treated.
Okay.
New therapies were emerging, and the stigma surrounding mental health was slowly starting to break down.
So William's story isn't just a personal one.
Right.
It's also a reflection of a society grappling with these changes.
Exactly.
And it's through art that William begins to find his voice.
This is where the novel really dives into that transformative power of art therapy. For William, who can't communicate verbally, art becomes his outlet. It's his way of expressing emotions, memories, even trauma.
It makes you think about how art can transcend language barriers and reach people on a deeper level. Many reviewers, in fact, highlighted this aspect of the story as both heartwarming and hopeful.
It is. It shows the power of art to heal and to connect, and how sometimes the most profound communication happens without words.
And this theme of communication ties back to William's muteness, doesn't it? It makes you
Right.
wonder if there's a deeper meaning behind his silence.
That's a great observation. Is it a form of resistance, a defense mechanism, or something else entirely? Chambers leaves room for interpretation, which is what makes it so thought-provoking.
Yeah, it's like we're all trying to decipher William's art alongside Helen, searching for those hidden messages within.
And that search for meaning, that desire to understand William's story, it's what drives the narrative forward. It's what keeps you turning the pages, eager to uncover the truth alongside Helen.
So we've got this captivating mystery, a complex and relatable protagonist in Helen, and a historical backdrop that adds another layer of depth to the story. What else can you tell us about where the novel goes from here?
Well, remember how we were talking about Helen's personal struggles and how they might mirror William's confinement?
Hey.
That theme of control? It kind of becomes even more pronounced as the story unfolds.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, it's woven into the very fabric of the narrative.
Hmm.
We see it in Gil's manipulative behavior toward Helen,
Hmm.
in William's aunt's overprotective, almost suffocating care,
Hmm.
and even in the societal attitudes toward mental illness at the time.
So it's not just about William being physically hidden away.
Right?
It's about these different forms of control that can really restrict a person's freedom and their sense of self.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that it's not always about malicious intent. Sometimes, as in the case with William's aunts, it stems from this misguided sense of love and protection. They believe they're doing what's best for him,
Hmm.
but their actions ultimately limit his agency.
Yeah, it makes you think about how good intentions can sometimes have unintended consequences. It reminds me of a reviewer, Rita Egan. She pointed out that Chambers specifically chose the 1960s setting because it was such a pivotal time in the history of psychiatry.
Yes, it was a time of tremendous change and upheaval. With new ideas about mental health treatment emerging, the old asylums were being phased out, and there was a growing movement toward community-based care.
So William's story is playing out against this backdrop of these shifting perspectives on mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about him as an individual, it's about how society viewed and treated people like him.
Exactly.
And it's fascinating how Chambers kind of weaves those larger societal changes into her narrative.
It adds a whole other layer of complexity to the story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're not just reading about one man's journey. You're getting this glimpse into a particular moment in history and how those historical forces can shape individual lives.
Yeah, several reviewers, like Kathy and Samantha, they praised Chambers' ability to really transport readers back to that era.
Yeah.
They mentioned details about the food, the music, even the television shows of the time, which really brought that setting to life.
It's those small details that
Yeah.
make a story truly immersive.
Mm.
You're not just reading about the past, you're practically living it alongside the characters. And speaking of immersing yourself in the story, there's one more detail I think you'll find fascinating.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Remember how we were talking about William's art being this way for him to communicate?
Yeah.
Well, many reviewers noted that the descriptions of his artwork felt incredibly vivid and evocative.
Yeah, I can see how that would add to the emotional impact of the story. It's like you're not just told about William's emotions, you're shown them through his art.
Exactly. It's almost as if Chambers is inviting us to step into the role of art therapist ourselves,
Okay.
to try and decipher the meaning behind William's creations.
Speaking of deciphering, I have to admit one thing that really surprised me was finding out that this story is actually inspired by a real-life case.
Ah, yes. Chambers stumbled upon this newspaper article about a man who had been hidden away, much like William. But here's the key difference. While inspired by reality, she fictionalizes William's story and background. It becomes this unique and compelling narrative that is entirely her own.
That's a delicate balance, drawing inspiration from real life, but also respecting those boundaries of fiction. It makes you wonder about all the untold stories out there, the hidden men and shy creatures whose voices haven't been heard.
It certainly does. And it speaks to the power of fiction, to shed light on those hidden corners of human experience, to make us think and feel and question the world around us.
It's not just entertainment, it's a way to explore the depths of what it means to be human. But back to the novel. With all this talk of control and shifting societal views and art as this form of communication, what can we say about the overall message or takeaway? What does it all mean for us as readers, as people living in the world today?
Well, I think at its core, Shy Creatures is a story about empathy. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to recognize that everyone has a story, even those who might seem hidden or different.
Yeah. Several reviewers like Melanie Caldecott and Sarah Lee made a point of saying that even though this book is set in the 1960s, its themes are incredibly relevant today. We're still grappling with issues of mental health stigma, social isolation, and that search for belonging.
Absolutely. And that's what makes great literature so enduring. It speaks to those universal human experiences that transcend time and place. And Williams struggled to find his voice in a world that doesn't always listen. Well, that resonates with readers regardless of their background.
Yeah, it also makes you think about the power of art to heal and transform. Like, as Williams' story shows us, art can be a lifeline, a way to express what words cannot.
It's a powerful reminder to embrace creativity, not just in our own lives, but in the lives of others. We never know what hidden talents might be waiting to be discovered.
And that brings us back to the beginning, to that question we posed. What secrets might be lurking in this shy creature's past? Well, I think the real secret lies in the journey itself, in the process of uncovering those hidden depths.
It's about recognizing the humanity in everyone, even those who might seem lost or forgotten. It's about offering compassion, understanding, and that space for those voices to be heard.
So if you're looking for a story that will stay with you long after you finish reading, a story that'll make you think and feel and question the world around you, then Shy Creatures might be just the book for you.
And as you delve into William's world, I'd like to leave you with this thought. If you were to discover a hidden man in your own community, someone who'd been shed away from the world, how would you approach unraveling his story? What would you do to help him find his voice and his place in the world?
That's a powerful question to ponder. It reminds us that we all have the potential to be Helen Hansford, to see the humanity in others, to offer kindness and support, and to help unlock those hidden stories that surround us. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.